Well, dare I use the cliche, grateful, blessed. It's more than that. It's an ability to kind of tap into something that is still relevant, that the one thing that will never change is our emotions. Our heart never changes. It doesn't. It's either broken, it's moved, or you feel nothing, but the heart controls it. So if you can write a story, is what I'm saying, that touches the heart, then your audience will never abandon you. And I think that's what's missing in so-called action films. I detest the term action films because Rambo's not an action movie. I admit maybe the second one was, but the fourth one was a drama. And this one is a full-on drama that leads to, like I said, this kind of Shakespearean finale right out of classic literature in a sense that it's just been building. Again, I don't put myself here as Robert Louis Stevenson, Edgar Allan Poe, but what I mean in really good literature, you've taken these characters on a journey, and the culmination, you know, is going to be seismic. It's going to be volcanic. It's just going to be a classical finale.
Roll sound. And background, and action Rambo.
I'm a filmmaker and a storyteller. Acting is my least preferred joys, if you want to call it that, because it's what the audience doesn't realize. For example, I worked about 14 hours yesterday, but I actually worked maybe 11 minutes. The rest was literally moving equipment. But as a storyteller, as a director, as some other functioning entity, you're engaged. And as a young man, I thought it was nice because it's very, you know, self-grandizing. He goes, look at me, I'm in movies. But as I see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'd rather pass on what knowledge I have on to other hungry filmmakers and say, carry on. This is what worked for me. This is what hasn't. And please just carry on this tradition because I don't want this genre to die, because right now it's on one leg and it shouldn't be. In the 70s, that's all there was. And then, unfortunately, technology came in and characters that had no backstories. They're just there in brightly colored outfits, doing extraordinary things. And, you know, but what happens when they take their uniform off, go home, and have to deal with the wife and kids? That's what interests me. But you don't see that, you know what I mean? So this is what, hopefully, we can keep the genre alive. But it's not easy. Not a lot of people want to do it. It takes a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. There was a thing of Australian movie about Portsmouth. It was unbelievable. Back, 15 years ago. And Australia, I mean, literally riding straight down cliffs. And they followed this film. It was unbelievable. But they were half a mile away.
Well, I'm of the first generation Rambo fans. You know, I grew up with it. I was a fan before I ever even imagined of being in this business. So to actually be on a Rambo set and be with Sly, you know, it's one of those things I can cross off my bucket list.
There was always that temptation that bigger is better, but I found that out in Rocky Balboa, that when you start to downsize and get back to what made it good in the first place.
It's good. Cut it.
And bones.
Last one was great.
Very good. Last one was great, yeah.
But in this one, Rambo speaks a lot more. He's, like I said, part of a family, whereas he used to be isolated. So you get to really understand how he thinks, how he ticks, and it's quite different, yet as emotional as the first one.
What struck me more was just the conversations of how life integrates into the art. I mean, you know, understanding what he believes in as a human being, what I believe in as a human being, how would a person react to this situation, how does Rambo react to this situation, but how do we as human beings, and seeing all the possible perspectives. So it was gratifying that it was very broad. You know, we were able to talk about many things, not just about how Rambo sees it, but also why Rambo sees it this way, you know. And a lot of Rambo is Sly.
Adrian he did get the Gringo, which Sly and I liked and we watched. You know, he's done a lot of Narcos episodes, which really gives the Mexican flavor. Adrian's lived in Mexico for almost 20 years now, so he knows the human trafficking world very well. He's very familiar with it. You know, there's a lot of documentaries that when I first met him, he already knew about. He already had an idea in his head what he wanted to do. You know, he already had pretty extensive knowledge of what goes on, a lot more than we did. I mean, I actually learned from Adrian about this story, you know, deeper than, you know, just from what you read on the internet or newspapers, because you do hear about it, and you do hear about human trafficking, but you don't really pay attention to it until someone really focuses on it and educates you on it, and Adrian did that with me.
Yeah, but see, you can tell it's not her, see what I mean? That's why it's difficult. Are you going to use her?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Just lining up to see that we get the shot. Absolutely.
I mean, it seems to me if I see a piece of her features like her mouth, it's much more threatening than...
See, the ideal shot is the one here, the second shot, because it's coming in the frame. You know what I mean? It's more like that is what I'm looking for.
And our thought was, wow, you know, he might be a very interesting choice for this, because it's not like we're getting a director out of, you know, Sweden or you know, or Russia or whatever it is. Here's a guy who knows this kind of material and can really give us the authentic take on not only this world, but the characters in the world. And he has been very demanding that way. He goes, I need this to be authentic. In fact, I know everybody on this speaks Spanish, and we even have some Mexicans in the film. We need even dialogue coach to make sure that the lingo is correct, that this really is that world that we're talking about. And having him has been, you know, a real blessing, because everything in the film, particularly the Mexican aspect of it, he can immediately look and go, no, that isn't. Okay, that is good, and that is good there. And yes, we can make Tenerife work, because I'm walking the streets and I see Mexico. All we have to do is some dressing, and we're great here. We can make this film here. So he brings that kind of visual and understanding of what the film should be. And on top of that, he's also very good, and he's very sensitive, and he understands the actors and the characters. So he can sit with the actors and really make them come alive as characters. And it's been a very satisfying journey so far with them. I think we're on the right track, and he's on the right track.
Okay, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
So, am I missing anybody here, or?
Sorry? I'm just bringing the girl who is the one who was dragged around.
Okay, but no extra? You were going to...
Yes, I mean, I was just giving you the space at the moment. If you want me to start dressing them in, you can.
Let's bring everybody in. I'll just put them sort of quickly.
Let's start bringing in.
Just like I loved Rocky Balboa. That was the hardest film I had to do, because it was 16 years after Rocky V, which didn't do very well. So there was no encouragement. This one I felt, wow, there is one more story to be told. And this is a story that the audience can identify with. This is everyone's worst nightmare. And I read about these tragedies in the newspaper every day. about children being abducted, and what can be worse? So we touch on something that's relatable as opposed to just random warfare.
The cartel it's a big issue in my country, and it's a big issue in the world. But that is a subject that is very out in the public, for a number of years now. And not that this isn't, but the sex trafficking is the second biggest crime business after the drug trade, is the sex trade. So it made more sense in the story that we told that would be the evil that Rambo touches. You have to remember, Rambo always has one foot in reality, and that is this reality, which is I think a little more original than the cartel, if original is the right word.
We're shooting the scene right after I got captured. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, why am I here? We have Hugo coming in, and he is showing all the rest of the girls, this is what happens if you escape. If you escape, this will be you. So I am scared for my life. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I've been kidnapped, essentially. So it's a really intense scene. It's really, we just filmed a little bit. We're going to do a little more right now. So when I got this part, I started researching on the sex trafficking thing that's going on in Mexico, and it's going on everywhere. And I didn't realize how bad it is, but I do think this movie is going to be great because it has a really deep message, which is the sex trafficking. It's happening everywhere, and I just learned a lot of really crazy facts. Some women have about 60 men a day. It's crazy because I'm doing this movie, and it's a movie, but the fact that it's actually happening in the real world is heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking. I actually cried when I was watching all those documentaries. I couldn't believe that it was real.